Welcome to 2025. What a year it's been, 2024. We did a lot of shit, a lot of cool shit. And I'm surprised that we made it here alive, to be honest. I didn't think we would.
Yeah, crazy year. Crazy what you can do in a year, I guess, when you tell the truth and you face a few of your fears. And yeah, I don't think you. I think we'll look back on, like we both said, we'll look back on this and think like what a year 2024 was. But I think we're going to look back on every year like that now.
Mm.
So
From now on, hey,
it's
yeah,
just the beginning, man. Yeah. So
yeah. Like you could look back on 2024 and think, yeah, it was that year we started the podcast. How crazy
yeah,
is that?
yeah,
There's been so many years where I wouldn't be able to look back on like 2022 maybe. Like what happened that year? Probably just lied to myself a lot.
mm. Yeah. I've probably
Those
got a good
around me.
5 year block there where they just all merge in.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what happened what year.
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah.
big circle of, and that's like, yeah, the distraction of life and the game you're told that you have to
Yeah.
play, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, big year for both of us, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll get into like what the year was for us, but I'd just like to start by saying like with the podcast, it just started as an idea of us talking on the phone, a bit of a joke. But then I think we both knew we had to face some type of fear and tell the world about who we actually are, tell the truth. And I don't know about you, but I didn't think anyone really listen. And if they did, I was like, oh, that's cool. But it's always been for me and you. It's like, it's just us expressing ourselves, trying to be creative and creating something that we want. And I
Yeah.
guess the bonus of that now is I've realized that there is so much power to vulnerability, and some of the conversations I've had are incredible. And it just takes one person to be vulnerable, and then that person's then all it can take is one conversation with someone to change your life. And if you didn't have that conversation in 2024, 2025 might be the year where you can be that. It could do, and it doesn't need to be a big thing. It could just be one small thing, one thing. You don't need to face a big fear or anything. Like it could be a conversation with a partner. It could be telling yourself the truth. It could be anything. And it can, just like us, I think we told ourselves the truth
Yeah.
and we followed through on it. And then look where we've got.
Agreed. And it's like all the feedback that we've gotten, some of the stories we hear. I don't know, it just warms my heart truly to hear all that. And it makes me believe in what we're doing.
Mm. Yeah, so much power. Then it's just there's just so much power in people, I think. And you can get caught up in the materialistic world of needing to get this job or get married and do the next thing, and you
More.
know more, like buy the new car. And man, just have a chat with people. People are awesome. Like how
Mm,
cool are people? Like, and there's so many people doing cool things.
mm,
And it's just, yeah, I'm so grateful that I've got to have conversations with people. Not that everyone needs to listen to the podcast. Like, they just hear the name of it and then, watch the clips and stuff, and they get the idea, and then they come up to you and they like tell you something vulnerable. They've
mm.
obviously wanted to tell someone, and like, or how, they've had this conversation with someone about something. And it's just, if everyone could be a bit more vulnerable every day, then yeah, I think, and that's a theme for me this year is, I was listening to David G meditation this morning, and it's like, we transform the world by first transforming ourselves. And it starts with us. Like
Mm.
everyone can be a little bit better each day, and I think that's the ultimate goal of this podcast is just like realizing you can start whenever you want.
Yeah. You can start listening to that voice.
Mm.
I like that. It's like the best way you can help other people is by helping yourself and working on yourself, right?
100%. That's my mantra this year. We'll get there, but we'll get there.
Oh
But
yeah.
like,
Oh
because
yeah.
there can be so much distraction, even with what we've done this year. Like, just saying yes to so many things, doing so many things, and it's like, well, like where do I want to put that focus, that energy to optimize what I really want to do. And I think because we've only just started telling the truth about who we are, which has been really, really tough, as much as amazing, you got to build that intuition.
Yeah.
So now that we've tried things, we're starting to build that voice inside and listening to and knowing which way to go a bit more.
Yeah.
Not that you'll ever know, but
Yeah. It's funny that you say like it's building that voice inside, but I think kind of like we're breaking down the walls to that voice, right? And listening more. It's already in us.
There's so many loud voices as well, though, like fear and planning and analyzing and doing.
Yeah. That keeps us alive though.
It does, but yeah, just learning which one's which and sitting with each of them.
Yeah.
Learning about ourselves.
Yeah, agreed. Um, agreed. I might start with a little story of how I experienced the silly season of 2024. So we did a lot of we did a lot of work and in 2024, and I could feel myself I'd grown all these practices and I'd grown all this focus and energy and stuff like that. And then December hits, and December is like a heavy socializing time. It's filled with having fun, enjoying. It included drinking for me, which I didn't mind. I don't see as a bad thing. I've had a pretty sober year, so I thought, yeah, it was a good way. Kind of, I use the excuse of just spending credits, right? Like we've been working really hard this year, and you can always work on bettering your life, but I do agree that sometimes you need to enjoy it. Otherwise, you just spend the whole time bettering your life, and you won't get to enjoy it, right? What's the point in that? But I think that I found a real part of me that I'd always kind of neglected. And I don't know how much you know about the topic of introverts and extroverts. Do you know much?
Not heaps.
Yeah. I think I might need to do some more research on this, but I spent a lot of time socializing in December. Even before I was pretty much always around someone all December. And I got to a point where just the littlest of things were annoying me. Like I could tell I wasn't physically tired, but more like just mentally drained, I think. And I think that is because I show qualities of more introverted, because I have energy, right? And then I go socialize or I hang out with people and I lose that energy as I do that more. And I always found that I enjoy socializing, but only when I have that energy. And when I don't have that energy, I've always been super, super hard on myself. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like low confidence and stuff like that. Like after December, after we went to a festival over New Year's, and I just wasn't happy with my confidence levels and stuff like that. So I was being quite hard on myself. But after the fact, I kind of saw it as an opportunity to love a new part of me. And that's the part of me that wants to be alone and spend time with myself and regather my energy and just do the things that I want to do alone. And I think looking back at all my, kind of, I think I could apply this to a lot of areas in my life where I've been super, super tough on myself. But I've just not had the energy, right? And I've been in this low state. when really it's just because I had either been like socializing a lot or something like that. Like I think a prime example is in relationships, right? Like when you're in a relationship, you're pretty much like always around someone.
Mhm.
It's quite hard to get some alone time. And I've never really realized that that could have like an impact on me, right? Like usually I'd get to that point where I was quite tired and quite drained, and I would just think it was like something wrong with me or like the relationship or something like that, when really I just needed to recharge. Um, but yeah, I think over that socializing and really forcing myself to still participate in the silly season even when tired, it showed me a really hard spot in myself to love, you know, because I don't want to be like that. I want to be outgoing and always have something funny to say or some shit like that, right? Like the the urge is there, and I don't want to be wasting my time sitting in my room right alone. You know, there's that pressure also of like you're young, go out and do shit. You know what I mean?
Is that really a waste?
Yeah, apparently feels like it. That's a good point. So I don't know. It's a yeah. I'm grateful for what I've realized, and
Mhm.
like it took me the car ride home. I had like a 10-hour car ride home, and it was that car ride that I started learning to love that part of me. And you know, the practice. I
Yeah.
think the practice will help me bring it closer to when I'm actually in it,
So
to love
beautiful.
myself then.
Hmm.
Anyway, I hope that made sense.
No, I did 100%, man. I felt that like I feel
Mm.
like that's been my biggest learning this year is it all just comes back to self-love, man. Like
Yeah.
it all is, and that's the power of self-reflection, right? You don't reflect on that and you're just and this is one thing I read, it's like every time that you're thinking about, oh, I should have been this way, right? Like, oh, I was low in this low state, but then I wanted to be more social. I should have been this. You're rejecting yourself.
Yeah.
Like, when you're not loving yourself, you're rejecting yourself. You're saying that I'm not worthy as I am. And that's a hard thing to sit with. Like that,
Yeah.
if you're saying yourself that to yourself all the time,
Yeah.
it's so much weight. Like this, you're just carrying around this unworthiness with you all the time. And I think me and you are very self-critical, like very
Yeah.
self-critical. Um, and I think that's why I wanted you to start journaling because that's when I get out of that mind and can
Mm.
really look at, that self-reflection and realize, and that's what I had this year when I did that meditation. It's like, it's all self-love. Like,
Awesome. Love.
and like that's a part of you, right? But that's only a part of you in that moment. If you think about
Mm.
it, you're an introvert, okay, but you're still a different person in every single moment ever.
Yeah.
Like, can you accept just daily who you are right now?
Yeah.
And I think that's,
'Cause that's what
yeah,
you've got, right?
yeah. And I think that's just what I heard then is just like, yeah, you gotta not necessarily just love the parts, but
Mm.
all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, because if
Even
you're
when you're in that
not,
suffering.
yeah, because if you're not, it's rejection, and it's
Yeah.
and then that's a spiral. But
Yeah.
so beautiful to hear you have that reflection, and it's funny that it takes suffering to get there.
Mm. Yeah. Crazy, right?
Suffering. Yeah, Ramdas says how much suffering brings you closer to yourself, like
Yeah.
in those demons.
Yeah. I was in the depths.
Yeah, but I think like I don't know, like before I was in a relationship, I pretty much spent all my time alone. Like I needed routine, I needed my own space and my own time. So I'll probably come the other way. Like I've come from that to then over a long period of time adjusting to um being around people more often.
Yeah.
And it's been a hard journey toward that. And that's where like I think honesty and obviously realizing that about yourself is a big thing. And for people out there, like to think like that self-realization just doesn't help you. Like that's going to help you in all your future relationships. If you can go into your relationship and be like, hey, don't take this personally. I just need this space for me. This is how my brain works. And have that chat, man. Like I've had a couple of these chats recently in my relationships, and it's just it brings you so much closer to that person to be like that vulnerable and open to them. And then you're not, because you start to resent some, that there's something wrong there, right? You just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And your
I've had
brain's
so
trying to
many
decide what it
theories.
is. Yeah. Your brain's constantly coming up with theories. And then you might start to resent that person. That's not fair on them. Like, and that's where that I think it's a beautiful realization and so much self-reflection there. But then that other point where you're like, I need to go out, I need to,
The pressure.
yeah, like that's just as much a story as, well, like, yeah, I kind of went through something similar this year because I've been such an avoidant. Thought I had social anxiety. I would just spend a lot of time by myself and avoid a lot of social situations. I said yes to everything this year. So my intention was deep connections, which is beautiful, right? And so if I got to connect with someone, I had to say yes to it. And that's why I was like, I gave up a lot of drinking and I actually gave up a lot of social stuff, like playing footy and different things. And I thought I'd have nothing to do, right? Because that was my world. So I was like, oh well, I won't have many social things anyway. And then I just started saying yes to everything. And then I was going to coffee all the time, going to dinners, going playing golf with people. Like Loz is a bit of a joke with me when I say I'm playing golf because it's literally a different person every time. Or I'm like going for a walk up a hill with someone, or doing. So I was constantly doing social things because I was saying yes, and I'm like, which is beautiful. I was getting so many connections with people, but all my time was going there as well. So yeah, this year definitely setting a different intention, coming back to like what we said before, like we transform the world by transforming ourselves first. Like I want to go out into the world by having worked on me. Like this year is about as like being selfish as it sounds. I'm upgrading me.
That's actually crazy that I don't want to just copy you, but I had like the same
when you were saying
thought
that, I'm like,
at
man,
New
he's
Year's.
stolen me.
Literally, because we spent New Year's together. And I just remember thinking that like I was waiting all day for an idea to come into my head, and that was it. I think because I was also just like a bit off people, right? Like it's a bit low energy, and I was like, everyone, I'm working on myself this year.
Well, we've done it. We've done this year. We've done the people thing, right? We've done the community. Like, what's next? Like, what can we really add? I think, and I feel that, man.
What would you be able to tell me some of the things that are currently holding Adam Bice back
from like 2024,
or what? You say self-work. You're going to be
what I want to work on.
Yeah, what are you going to be working on?
Yeah, cool. So I've written down, it's more just focusing my energy on particular things, right?
Yeah.
There are a few beliefs there. Like, I do want to start a business, and I guess my worthiness in that. Like, I feel like, oh, you don't know what you don't know what you're doing. You don't have value to really give people for them to pay for their service. Like, this is free, right? So I'm okay. but like
Yeah.
actually asking people for money
Yeah.
and not feeling yeah, like a piece of shit. um yeah, so and then perfectionism. And I really want to explain this because it's not what it sounds like. I would say perfectionism is a form of anxiety that doesn't actually make you do things perfectly. It's right, there's a task, and all you do is focus on the outcome and the perception of people at how people will perceive you at the outcome. So the perception of people that I need is them to see me to do something perfectly or good. And I need the outcome to be perfectly and good. So I need to be safe. I need to have money. I need everything to work out. Like, and that's all. I see a task, whether it's cleaning my car, you asked Lols, I brush my teeth for about 8 minutes because every single tooth needs to be like, even I hate brushing my teeth because it just seems like such a large task because I have to go there and spend so much time doing
That
it.
is crazy.
Yeah, so it's little things, and it's like it's just so debilitating, the thought that weighs on you thinking about the amount of effort that I'm going to have to do to put into one thing, right? Because it has to be this single way. So you end up doing nothing most of the
Yeah.
time because it's just too big of a task, like the stress of that. So letting go of that,
Yeah.
and a lot of that is with trust and letting go of control,
Yeah.
and really trying to sit with that part of me and come up with, because it's also a powerful part, right? Like if I like Dharma sprint, if I sit down in my office, block out all things, I can work very well
Mm.
and do a lot of things if I get out of the idea in my head that I need to finish it straight away, right? And have
Yeah.
this outcome. So that's one thing that's definitely blocking me. Like, especially with starting a business, man, it's not going to be perfect at all. I'm going to fail all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm going to be learning a lot. So that's probably my biggest block that I really want to work on.
Yeah.
And then I just really want to like work on my practice and
Yeah.
be more present and do less things, but more meaningfully.
Yeah.
So instead of going to 3 coffees on the weekend and dinner here, I want to, or and then playing golf like 3 times, and you know, all things that are connecting with people and having good conversations. I'd rather do less of those, but then really put time and effort and into listening and talking to people more,
Yeah.
and learning and really being careful about who I surround myself with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, does that answer your question? I think that's
Yeah.
that's my block. So that's not necessarily my goals, but they're the things that
Yeah.
yeah, I'm working on
So what I
this
got
year.
from that is, so we know about intention includes action.
Yeah.
Are you just gonna do it? Like, is that the way to beat the perfectionism? You're just gonna sit down, close the doors, and just do it,
No.
right? And block everything out and just
And
Nike,
do it.
just
Yeah,
do it.
I think there's an element of that, right? Like I'd love to include some Dharma sprints, and this is what I'm passionate about. It's like, and this is why I need more time,
Yeah.
less socializing things. Is like socializing things does take. I'm like you, it takes a lot of energy for me.
Yeah.
So I need just to clear time. So to get into that space, if I clear time and meditate and then go to work,
Yeah.
I don't even think about perfectionism. I just go at it, man. Like
Yeah.
I can do tasks after I meditate very well. I'm a very much a morning person in my morning practice. So if I be selfish and give myself that time,
Yeah.
I think then, and this is why I'm also love routine, and my
Yeah.
practice helps me so much, is because it's set, right? It's
Yeah.
like you wake up and you do it. I don't have
Yeah.
to think about it. So I don't think about it as a task. So I
Yeah.
don't think about achieving it or doing it. It's just what I do.
Yeah.
So that
And the
helps me a
mental,
lot.
yeah, the mental energy that it's taking up is minimal, right?
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
so then if I have to wake up and go for coffee or golf in the morning, there's all that time. I get home and I'm exhausted. So I'm wasting time
Yeah.
there. Then I got to think about meditating. I got to think about doing this. And then, so just being a bit more selfish with my
Yeah.
time, so I can get into a state where I can do some deep work,
Yeah.
um, on myself and like for my goals. Um, there. And like I wrote down my values and how I'm gonna kind of rate, and I might change these as the year goes on. But biggest thing for me is still compassion and self-love this year.
Mm.
That's the number one thing. But everything else, anything happens, am I loving myself? Second thing is family.
Yeah.
So like social things, I'd give up anything for that, right?
Yep.
If unless I wasn't loving myself, you know.
Yeah.
And then third is like creating, so like podcast, business, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Third, closely tied. I really want to focus on my physical health this year as well.
Yeah.
No big goals there, but I just want to be fit again.
Yeah.
And healthy, not just fit, not just like destroying my body, but actually be healthy. And then it's kind of like after that, I'm not entirely sure yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing there.
It'll come.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think might hold you back 2025?
Um, I think recently, like I think that scarcity mindset eats me up a lot. I want to kind of definitely be more abundant just with definitely money, right? I feel like that has a big hold on my brain, and um it's about like I don't know, I get into this mindset where there's not enough, like even right, clearly you can see it when I say that, oh, I don't have, like I can't rest, right? Scarcity about time,
Mm,
right? Like there's not
mm,
enough time. So that's definitely one of them. I want to surrender more. So I want to, and I think I did that quite well during the Christmas period. Like I just, although I could see it happening, I just kind of let it happen, and I
mm.
didn't try and wrestle with it um too much. I just kind of slipped into it like a nicely made bed. And I had a nice dream, right? Like that's all it really was. Um so that, and just being more open, um telling the truth. I think there's a lot of areas in my life that I could still tell the truth more. Um and yeah, just really looking after that part of myself that needs some alone time, and to rest. I think, yeah, it's funny having so many intentions, right? And I often wake up and do an intention meditation, and it changes quite often. Um, but that's not. I don't think that's ever going to bring any lengthy, like any kind of real deep work takes time, right?
Plenty of time.
So yeah, and that
Never
takes,
ends.
yeah, exactly, and that takes a lengthened focus on a topic, maybe even past a point where you're not interested in that topic anymore. So I think I need to, right? um yeah, just maybe focus on some long-term goals, which I think I have this year, right? Like with my try, and I'm studying still, so I've got some long-term goals. But
Yeah, I think though, like what I try to do with goals, and this is what in intentions, this is why I incorporate values, right?
hmm,
It's just more of a theme to guide you with your daily intentions.
hmm,
So it's not like, oh, I want to do this one particular thing, or like, do a try, or, you know, earn this amount of money, or, things that, I don't know, like I've always struggled with goals and things like that. Like, but like if my theme for this year is to love myself, like
hmm.
we call them infinite goals, like it's an infinite game, and Godsey talks about this. Um,
Oh
and
yeah,
I think this is why it's so cool to write them down, because it
yeah,
really makes you think. Like if you get a list of values up and really go through them and try and choose five, it'll really make you think about what you actually want. Um,
hmm,
and you know, it's not something, it's something you, so like self-love, right? It's something I can achieve in each moment,
Yeah.
but it's something I have to achieve each day. So it's like, you know, it's not like earn this amount of money where you go, okay, I get there, I tick it off
Yeah.
over a period of time. It's an infinite game I'm trying to play each day
Yeah.
about what or who I want to be. And that's just the values. The intentions are a little bit different. Like that's
Yeah.
what I intend to put my energy towards.
Yeah.
So not necessarily like one particular thing, but like what is your intention? Like
Yeah.
where do you want your attention to go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some long-term ones there, which are really cool as well. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I'd say, you know, write as much as you got your intentions there, write some values down with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, just as even as an exercise, see if you like it. Like, you know, because like last year for me, it was that deep connection. So if I had a choice, right? All right, am I connecting with people? Then it just helps you make that decision.
Yeah.
And you can change that whenever you want. It doesn't need to be like a yearly thing. Um, but I just found like that helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Just having that little bit of guidance.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's fair. I think some of my so I think some of my actions will be moving towards suffering more. So trying to find like
so
doing
like you've got, sorry, what number one was like the scarcity, right?
yeah.
The value there is abundance.
Yeah.
And that could be health, wealth, everything, right? But it's
Yeah.
that value of abundance. So
Yeah. Not
what
even
was the
like
second one then?
abundance of just like enough, right? That I can I don't know, I don't need there to be a lot. You know, I just want enough. And
But
there
like
is enough.
yeah, that's what abundance is. I feel like it gives you
Yeah.
enough, you know, like you can look at it heaps of ways. It doesn't need, but abundance in all areas too. Like
Yeah.
I think you've also, yeah, you can ask for more as well.
Yeah. Um yeah, and then what? Surrender.
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 Nice.
You know, joining the cosmic dance.
Yeah. Acceptance. And I think that's a good one for suffering because, you know, suffering is the resistance, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
conversely, you know, when that suffering's there, be like, oh, thank you. This
Yeah.
is a chance to surrender.
And that right, so that yeah, that opens the door, right? So to moving towards the suffering as a place for you to work on to eventually reach the goal of being free, right?
Because, you know, suffering helps us see what those triggers are, like, you
Yeah.
know, what those things are. And that's where the work is.
Yeah.
That's where the gold
Ramdas,
is.
yeah. Ramdas says it perfectly. He says, um, suffering shows suffering shows you where your awareness still has sticky fingers. So like where your awareness like sticks onto something.
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah. And you use that both ways, right? Like even joy and stuff, you focus on it,
Mm,
you get stuck in that moment.
mm.
Mm,
Yeah, cool.
cool. So yeah, what was that? Surrender, abundance,
I think you mentioned something about a bit about self-love as well before,
self-love,
accepting yourself.
yeah, acceptance, man.
'Cause that's what, like, if you don't like the word self-love, it's just acceptance. It's
Yeah,
non-resistance.
yeah,
And like, I had a realization this morning. I was like being a bit negative and, um, you know, you get, if I was a bit sick, you like feel a bit sorry for yourself,
yeah,
you know, and especially with the perfectionism, like you look around at all the tasks you've got to do and it's just so debilitating.
yeah,
And I'm like, you know, look for something beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
Like my brain's choosing to look for the negative. you know,
Yeah.
like I can train that, you know what I mean? Like I can work on that too. So
Mm.
I want to see more beautiful things this year. And that's a
Hell
choice,
yeah.
right? They're there.
Yeah.
They're everywhere, man.
Yeah. And it's funny you didn't, you didn't like it's still your mind. You didn't just get sucked into the negative like
Mm,
so many times you would normally, but from this outside perspective, it helps,
mm.
right?
Yeah,
Helps you
and
see that.
I think like that only came to me. This little voice came to me and said that because the last few days I've just let myself rest
Yeah.
for once, like, and you know, and
Mm.
that's my intention this year. It's just like
Mm.
I'm gonna back me. I'm gonna give myself time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna trust myself.
Yeah.
Like it is a year about me, like,
Mm.
and that might sound selfish, but like I think if everyone, you know, did that little bit of work on themselves, imagine how much we could change the world.
Yeah.
You know, we're going out into the world and we're trying to change things and influence things. But the world is literally in us. Like the universe is in us. Like you,
Yeah.
everything else is a dream. Like you perceive the world by how you feel. Like you're wearing goggles. Like,
Yeah.
and that's a fact. That's a
Mm.
scientific fact, right?
Mm.
Everyone could look at a thousand people could look at the exact same phenomena in the world and see it a thousand different ways. We perceive the world through our own lens.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you know, a car could look perfectly, right? But the engine doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, you like work on the engine.
Mm.
And that's me this year. I'm working on my engine. But I'm also trying to look after the exterior a bit more this year, like because
Yeah.
like the deep connections and everything last year did take a toll, right? Because I'm putting so much energy and time into those things, not necessarily eating the healthiest or, you know, going for that run, like, or,
Mm.
you know, putting the time into my body as well. Like,
Mm.
so
I like
really
that
trying
car. It's like you're fine tuning,
to,
switching
yeah,
out mods.
exactly. But I came up
Yeah.
with that on the spot then. That was cool. I'm not usually good at those.
You're a genius.
No, I probably just copied off someone, but that's right.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah.
That'd be
So
a
that's
cool
kind
thing
of
to
like,
do this year.
yeah. But it's
Think of
like
something original. One thing.
one thing original.
Yeah.
Creative. Get into that creative mindset. Um, yeah, so that's a lot about, I think, probably
Yeah.
our energy where we want to put our attention and focus in 2025.
Yeah.
Um, big year for us, 2024. So if we reflect on that, like
Mm.
what's your number one moment of or like experience of moments? Like could be multiple moments throughout a week or like something that you did
Mm.
over a period of time or something you accomplished for like if you went to that moment and you just felt like that feeling like this is how I want to feel that
Mm.
moment like when's that for you?
Yeah. Let's just go with the first thing that came to mind. And it's definitely the dancing, right? Like, holy shit, did I feel free? And it's like even the like not even the dancing itself, just like the mindset leading up to it. Like I was so focused and I knew I had to do it, no matter what. And I understand like it might not seem like a big deal outside of my mind, right? But for me to face a big problem in my mind gives me just so much confidence to face bigger things in the future. Um, so yeah, that moment for me really defined something in me, I think, which was cool.
Congratulations, that's
Thank you.
awesome.
How about you? Do you have
Yeah,
a
oh, but
moment?
even like the reaction like that people like you say it's not that big of a thing but I think people connected like
Yeah.
that putting yourself in the arena, man. Like, is there a bigger way? Like going into a market and just set out
Yeah.
dancing. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit. Like,
But then again, like
for some
I
people, that's
could,
not a big thing, but
yeah, but I could have done it without the, whole, oh, look at me facing a fear, look at me dancing, right? But
hey, I think that makes it like I don't know. I think that's harder. Like, what if you fail? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
but like that's what we're doing here. Like
Mm.
we're putting it out there, and you put
Yeah.
it out there, and you did it, and you told everyone you did it. That's what
Yeah.
we said we'd do.
Yeah. Agreed. And it also like doubles down on that, right? Because like no matter how many layers you add to it, there's still an element of connectedness, and there's still an element of, I can't think of a better word, but shame,
Mm.
right? And I feel like maybe that's the special brew for, I don't know, like they need each other, right? Like people wouldn't have connected to it as much if I didn't feel the shame
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, yeah, I suppose people are connecting with your vulnerability more than they are
Yeah.
the dance specifically. Like,
Yeah.
they understand that feeling of, feeling shame and judgment. And
Mm.
is
And
that
just
what you
wanting to
mean? Or,
move. Yeah. And just wanting to move. Yeah, I don't know. I'll think on it some more. But yeah, that's my moment. That's my highlight reel.
yeah, cool.
That's my triple double.
Yeah, nice.
How about you?
My moment was definitely that weekend, probably when you came up. I think back to that, like we went for that walk on the Friday Arvo. It's gonna be one of my favorite places, man. I had another mate came up recently, and we're kind of like, "Oh, do we get to do this?" I'm like, "Nah, we're doing this," and we went and did the walk as well. It's just like the most unreal 4 hour conversation. Like
Mm.
we went for that, we did that on coffee, and like that afternoon, same. Like me and you lead to something I want to do a bit later. I'll tell everyone about that. But like, um, yeah, like just walking that hill, having that chat, like vibing those ideas, and then the next morning doing that meditation um, with everyone. And it wasn't necessarily the meditation, but then like the walk, the moment, the feeling was like the walk and the relief and the connecting with people, and then like sitting at that table with everyone, and everyone was just like vibing, and we'd having coffee, and it was just such a freeing and just like an energetic, loving space. Yeah, like because I felt so vulnerable and so exposed,
Mm.
and for all those people like who Tom, Louise, you, Jaden, Holly, Bray, Loz, and everyone that came. Yeah, I just felt so, yeah, accepted in that space, and it was just a good feeling.
Mm. You literally like zipped off the Adam character and ended into like, yeah, this other one
Took
that
off
you
the
wanted to be.
suit.
Took off the
Yeah.
suit for a
And I think
second and
like
people
that was
applauded.
really the moment. Like we did the podcast, but that was probably really the moment. Like,
Yeah.
because it's just me and you here, right?
Yeah.
And Instagram and stuff, it's just a world. Even though everyone had seen it,
Yeah.
that was really the moment. And that's what this year probably was about for me. Like, I talk about making deep connections, but it's also about telling the truth about who I am. And I'm still not there yet.
Yeah.
And we'll get to some hard things soon, but like, it sounds great in telling truth, but I've also lost, a lot of friendship circles, and a lot of, not lost, but am not in those anymore because of who I really am, I guess, and where I want to go. Um, yeah, I think that was definitely the best. And you realize that, like, yeah, people in your life support you. And
Mm.
I think everyone is looking for that meaning and purpose in their life. And everyone is playing this, we'll talk about Ram Dass some point in the future, but everyone's born and they're put into somebody training, as Ram Dass says. And then, sometimes the suit doesn't fit, like
Yeah.
you're given this suit, and well, most of the time it's not you. And if you're lucky, it is you. But you have to be born in a very specific time and place to, be yourself, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're all running around lying to each other about who we are. So it was good to expose myself a little bit. I'm very grateful for everyone in that space for being so, well, just coming and showing up and being so accepting.
Awesome.
Hardest thing from 2024?
Hardest thing, wow. The thing that's coming to mind was just that being in that state throughout December, like I just really, it was not very nice to myself.
Self-critical?
I think it's funny because, like we went up this year, right? Like I could see my confidence feeling good. Like I could even like it's funny, like you say, like I felt like that. You know how you drink and you get like this liquid confidence, right? Like I felt that at times while just being sober in myself, right? And that brought me to a new level of confidence and like I don't know, like a new high, right? So to crash back down again and think that I don't know, it makes you feel like kind of like fake, right? And a fraud, like, oh, you're not confident or whatever. Like,
But like, who are you being in both those instances? Like when you're feeling confident, like, is that when you're doing the podcast and like doing these things and learning and like at work and like being you?
yeah, I would say that's when I'm well rested.
Yeah. But like, I don't know,
When I'm
are
my
you
best self,
really
right?
you in these situations where we're not doing those things? So like silly season, right? When you're drinking and socializing and I don't know, I revert a lot back to being that character
Yeah.
that, fits in those situations.
Yeah.
So I kind of, I'm not saying this is you, but it's not that I'm not confident anymore. It's just that I'm playing this other character.
Yeah.
I'm not being myself anymore in those
Yeah.
situations.
But I didn't even do that like competently, you know what I mean? Like usually I can pull it off quite well.
But is that a bad thing? Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather,
Exactly, right? Like
yeah. Like I
that's a
found myself just sitting there and sometimes, and I'm
yeah.
like, while we're away, and I'm like, I know this isn't me. And usually I'd be like, oh, I need to go and, fit
Mm,
in. But I'm like, I don't
yeah.
care anymore, man. I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna
Yeah.
sit with like my thoughts were brutal while we're away. And I like
Yeah.
so my intention was just like, a character wants me to go do this. I'm just gonna sit with my thoughts because
Like we went off to
you're
boot camp
upgrading
or
anytime
something.
you sit with your thoughts. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we went off to boot camp. It's
hey,
like we
yeah,
went off to boot
literally.
camp. Back in the trenches, you
It's
two.
funny that it's meant to be like this holiday get it away. It's
Mm.
literally like the hardest thing I have to do this year. Right? I haven't even thought about it because it was like, yeah, all right. Um, dropped out. I've lost you.
Oh, you
Yeah,
back?
I'm
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's funny. Funny you said that. I
Yeah.
didn't really thought about it too much because I didn't want to.
But anyway, like there was gold at the end of the tunnel, man, and I wouldn't
100%.
change a thing. Honestly, like
Exactly.
sitting in that car, man, I was just like so proud of myself
Yes.
for just like letting it happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is
Yeah.
this second you take that perspective look at things, like it's just
Yeah. That little
all
switch.
of it perfect.
Yeah.
All of it
And it's like that
so
second break
beautiful.
from that analytical mind, right? It's just that little bit of a
Yeah.
break, that tiny moment in the heart, like
Yeah.
just to think,
Ah.
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 Oh man. Yeah.
Cool. What about you? Hardest moment?
Um, Probably like what you're saying before, like there's a couple of hard parts that letting go. I probably started this year before 2023, gradually letting go of environments and circles of friendships and things like that um, I struggled with. But it probably wasn't that this year because I did a lot of that last year. But it's still around relationships. I really struggle. A lot of my triggers are in relationships. Not when I say relationships, I mean friendships, family, um, partners, and like anyone. When I say relationships, um, but it's funny. Like the closer I feel like the closer. And I had this realization with you, right, when we did my podcast together, is that I just assumed because I've got my journal and my practice, I do a lot of sharing in there. And like you said, I don't share anything with people. I feel like I'm a burden. We had that realization. Um, so when me and you started to do this podcast, um, and some of the people closest to me are like shocked, like had no idea that I even had like any of these feelings because I thought I needed to portray myself as, strong and competent and the protector and, all those things and not be a burden. So the toughest part is probably, realizing, accepting the love of those people and now accepting that they are able to hold that space for me when I am struggling. So it's not just my journal, and like I've done this with you a few times. I've shared and then thought, oh shit, like, oh, can he handle that? And but it's I've got to apologize to him. But I'm trying to do that with more people that I'm close to, and that's taken a long time this year to do that. And I have a little bit, and I did recently and I've never felt closer to people. I feel like some of my relationships are the best I've ever been. Because I need connection and I need emotion in relationships. That's how I really connect with people. And I realized it was me that wasn't giving it. And I wasn't accepting because I couldn't accept myself giving that about maybe I'm not this strong person, like the whole crying thing, right? I couldn't um, cry in front of people because then I'm this weak person. So that's me rejecting who I really am, right?
Yeah.
So if I can't accept me, I can't accept the love from other people.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the time you think it's about you, like, oh, these people don't know who I really am and they're not, they're not supporting me and, all those stories. In reality, I wasn't telling anyone anything about who I really was because I wasn't accepting myself. So, yeah, I think the hardest thing was being vulnerable with, look at this podcast, but being vulnerable with the people closest to me.
Yeah.
And one of my intentions was while I was we were at Lost Paradise, I was like, I need to cry in front of some people close to me.
Yeah.
And I did it New Year's night. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, not like big ways, but watching a movie, had a bit of a sad moment in the movie, had a bit of a cry. So that's fun. But I think that's the hardest thing for me this year is accepting that I am emotional. Like, but I love that part of me, man. I love feeling like you watch some good documentaries or a good song and you listen to someone's words. And like this is the thing I've realized this year is, people's creativity, and art is them expressing themselves. And when you really listen and you connect with that, so powerful. Like so I'm just like watching things now and it always just gets me. Like even in the music festival, man, like even if I don't like the music, just seeing them up there, like doing their thing, expressing themselves, it's like, yes, how cool is that? Like, so yeah, like because I'm now letting myself be that, be myself in that way, I'm seeing that a lot more and it's just created so much abundance and connection. And that's why I like that more is less, right? This year, it's more deep meaningful connections around, but I can only be that if I give myself time and space to be okay with myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, full circle. It wasn't actually about anyone else. It was all about me and my problems.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, which I
My
think
inner
everyone would
reality
come
is
back to. You know,
yeah.
who would have thought I'm a human? I've got emotions. I struggle.
And my inner reality determines my exterior reality.
Yeah. And people can love me.
What?
I know. Crazy.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, 2024.
Yeah. I think even like talking about like reflecting on the podcast a little bit, like how cool. Like thank you to you. Every, you know, we man, we did it every weekend for a while and I was pushing it, but I
Yeah.
loved it. And then every fortnight we started doing it. But yeah, we've been a bit slacker lately, but I think I've definitely missed this in my life. So
Yeah.
more
The
time for
accountability.
this. Yeah. You know, not so many more golf on Sundays. So,
Yeah.
but also like, thank you so much to Sean, our first guest who came on, man. Like the reception and some of the stories that we heard, like when people come up to me and, you know, dad says it a lot, but like, you know, I'm so proud of you actually helping people. And then my brain goes, no, I'm not helping anyone. I didn't do anything. Like I'm just talking. And while I didn't help these people, like the power of that vulnerability and like letting people know you're not alone. And I think Sean did that so well, especially in that male space, talking about like, you know, he was so vulnerable in sharing his story. And, you know, from someone who comes from sporting background and, you know, that culture can be so toxic. So to see someone break down that mold a little bit was, yeah, very inspiring. Which is cool.
Agreed. And thank you
Yeah.
to Holly.
Yeah, finally. And she's just such a energy, isn't she? And just such a vibe that just creates abundance everywhere she goes.
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
a lot of people would resonate with her and to have some a feminine voice on um the channel as well is really, or the podcast. But I think Holly's also done a lot for us outside of that.
Yep.
But yeah, sharing and hearing her story was awesome, like especially with people who are battling anxiety as well, and seeing how like in her 3 year period where she's gone from to like,
Yeah.
you know, in 3 years is like
Crazy.
crazy to see what she's doing now.
Yeah.
And sharing like there is a way through, right? Like we're only a year in, so um which is crazy. I'd probably say I'm 2 years into my journey, but
Yeah.
um,
I only started the
yeah, how much?
podcast like 6 months ago, though.
Yeah, 6 months.
Crazy.
Who would have thought we actually would have done it?
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, gotta say yes, right?
Yeah, laughing it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny, man. Like, how old are you now?
24.
24. So yeah, it took me 24 years to learn who my brother was, which is crazy, and how much we
Yeah.
actually have in common and fucking,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Because
Yeah.
yeah, like
And
it
you
just
look.
sticks in my mind that 2 million euros thing. Like
Mm,
when I wanted to do this stuff by myself, like it's 1 million, like I just couldn't
mm.
do it. Like I needed, not like I needed someone, but I felt like I did, and it
Yeah,
was like
it's
the
just
perfect time.
extraordinary. Yeah, what you can do together, right? Yeah.
Putting those neurons together.
Let's go. I love that those little highlight reels of, Sean and all that for 2024. That's awesome. I can look back
Mm.
on that and be very happy.
Mm. I'm just grateful that we got to have those conversations. Like,
Yeah. Like we've already won, right? Like
mm,
this connection has blown up. If we help one person from this, right? Like,
yeah,
holy,
that was the
one
goal.
one person sits down and meditates. We've won.
Yeah.
I had someone come up to me at the work Chrissy party and said they listened to episode 1, and they're just like, it was the first time I ever sat down and like went in with it. I was just like, wow, yeah, so special.
So special.
Mm.
Um, Yeah, I've had a few moments like that, and it's like I could honestly finish the podcast here and be happy, you know,
Yeah.
like um as much as we want more, like
Yeah.
we are gonna do more, but I'm saying like so
Yeah.
grateful.
I'm keen for more guests in 2025. It's been a
Yeah,
bit of a block for me, but it's something I'm going to push myself in.
yeah. I've
Um,
got a few ready.
yeah, nice. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
And
very
hopefully we can
keen.
get some India ones too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Jared's going to India
Yeah.
couple months.
Yeah. I've got my laptop sorted.
Yep. Bit of a trip report.
That'd
Tell us all the wisdom you learn.
be cool. After
Yeah.
my 10 day
Get some good
Vipassana.
teas.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's going to be a highlight for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you.
We love when people reach out. So please reach out. If anyone wants to come walk up a hill for me and chat for 3 hours on a Friday afternoon, let me know. It might be something that I look to do this year. If anyone's interested, I might put something up on our page, whether it's going to be weekly or fortnightly. Happy to do it by myself, but if anyone's struggling or just wants to come for a chat on a Friday afternoon, there's no better way to connect with yourself, with the community, with nature, with exercise, to start your weekend. Instead of Friday Arvo beers, we can have Friday Arvo D&Ms and sit in nature.
Yeah. I can confirm it's a great time.
Yeah,
That was
100%. It's
nice.
never been bad. So plenty of cool things to look forward to.
Yep. Agreed.
Love ya.
Love you. Let's go. Ah, feels so good to be back, my friend.
Unreal. How much have we missed
Holy.
these, man?